Welcome back to Discover Your Roots, your weekly masterclass. And I'm going to now demonstrate how you can begin your family tree building in Find My Past. This is what we'll cover. Let me share my screen with you. I'll give you an overview of the Find My Past website and its features, step you through the creation of a family tree, and then demonstrate how that family tree can be created and built on Find My Past. Time permitting, we'll have a look at some special features of Find My Past. Here I am in Find My Past. I've already logged in, and you can see that I have several family trees here. But when you want to get started, you start with clicking on Family Tree and then go to Create a Tree. You'll find that in the course I've already given you some lessons on how you can do that. But here's a brief overview. You'll begin with yourself, fill in your first and middle names and your last name, and answer the question, is this you? For some of you, you may want to start a separate tree beginning with one ancestor. And if that's not you, then you'll need to specify by answering that question. You identify their gender and their status, whether living or deceased, and as much detail as you can about the birth date, place, and address. Then you give your tree a name and then create the tree. There's another little option down there to keep it public or private. If you want to, you can click that to ensure that it becomes a public tree, which gives you the benefit of looking at other people's trees who may be researching your ancestors as well. So then you would create your tree. As you saw before, I have plenty that I can select from. So let me go to one of the bigger trees that I have already, my Allery ancestors. I want to be able to focus on a particular journey that you may want to take with just one of your ancestors. For example, let's assume that you've filled in your details and you've gone back as far as your grandparents and your great-grandparents. So here's what it looks like for me. Down here is my father, his father, and his mother. And then, so that will be my grandmother. And here is my great-grandmother. Eliza Geets, or Goats, has been quite elusive for me. And one of the reasons has been that I've always been spelling her name as G-O-A-T-S. And recently I've found more records by just modifying that and using the spelling of G-E-A-T-S to get more details for her. So what we will do is click into Eliza, and on the left it will pop up the information that I have for her, and it shows the life facts, birth, marriage, and whether she's living or deceased. It also gives me options. I can search trees directly, or I can go immediately to view her profile. If I know of a relative that I want to add, I can do that here. And if I want to see this group in a family view, I can click here. But let's go to her full profile. Wait while my internet catches up. And this is a typical page for an ancestor in Find My Past. It has several pieces to it that can become a little confusing initially. So let's go through them. At the top, you'll see that this ancestor is part of the tree called the Allery ancestors. We're currently looking at the profile for Eliza Geets, or Goats. And on the right-hand side, I can view all the hints within this tree. which is something that I do frequently, to find out what Find My Past has discovered about an ancestor. You can watch a getting started video there if you're not sure what the next step is. And you can adjust your tree settings here, and you can print the page. Something that I do sometimes whilst I'm researching, and you might like to do the same. It will just print out what it sees on this page. Below it is the information that we have for Eliza. I don't have an image for her as yet, but if I wanted to put one in, I would simply click on that edit button. If I want to adjust the spelling of her name and any of the life facts, I can click that edit button. It shows me her birth date and death date, and below that, her occupation, where and when she was born, and where and when she died. Below that, there are several ways that I can look at this information. There's the overview that I'm looking at now, facts and events. I'll just go through and show you each of these. So this will give you all the facts about Eliza Gates. The relations, in this case, the things that I do know, her parents' names, her spouse name, and the children of that family. And Harriet is my grandmother. Next is the media. These are the pieces of media that I've collected for Eliza so far. They show up as transcriptions from the records that I have researched. Here's one for the Essex marriage and banns, her death, a census record in 81, and a baptism in her county of Hertfordshire. And below it, another baptism from the England births and baptisms. If I have other media that I want to add immediately, I can do that here. If I have some notes that I want to keep for this ancestor as I go, I can simply add a note here. And the last one on this menu is hints. The clicking into hints shows you what Find My Past believes are matches for this ancestor. And it looks like there aren't any new ones, but if I go to accepted, it will show me those that I have found recently and accepted. In this case, the 1891 census, the 1901 census, the 1881 census, and a parish marriage record. Note the spelling of her name. And there are the members' trees below. So if I now want to make sure that I have a copy of these new pieces of evidence, they need to be added to the tree. So I would review them. And it gives me the information showing for Eliza Wright, because by this date, she was definitely married. So that is her married name. The birth details vary slightly. That often happens. And this is the census for 1901, showing that they lived in Abbey Lane, West Ham. At this point, she was aged 56 and she was the mother of the head of the household. So this means that she's living with one of her children. Gives the residence and shows on the right-hand side that she was living in Abbey Lane back in 1861. And it shows her spouse. So now what I can do is view the transcript. This is an important step for you when you are finding records that you believe belong to your ancestor, have a look at the transcript and check that these people are the right ones. So in this case, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and Eliza is listed as the mother of Benjamin Wright. And Benjamin was one of her children who was born in 1875. I believe he might have been one of the last children. And there are 2 more rows to be seen because Benjamin's family included other people in the household, another child and 2 boarders. So this is something that I can now add to this record, and I could even view the original. I like doing these because it gives you a real perspective of what that census looked like at the time. Because this is a copy of how the enumerator would have added the details about this family in 1901. So it's a bit small for you to see. Let me zoom in a little bit. And down here we can see that we have Benjamin Wright, his wife Mary, and there's Eliza, his mother. And in this case, there are 2 brothers, not children. His brother Herbert and his brother Isaac, and then the 2 boarders. So there's some pieces of information that are interesting and differed slightly from the transcription. We can see on this record that he is a horse keeper or groom, Benjamin that is, and other people in that household. Herbert is a carman, Isaac is a polisher of some kind, and William and George, the boarders, are lamp warehousemen and a labourer in a paintworks. And on the right-hand side, you can see the birthplaces for each person. Stratford for Benjamin and Bishop Stortford in Hertfordshire for Eliza. All of that information matches with what I already have. I can now download that record and put it in my files. This is another way that you can begin to ensure that you have all the records correct for your family. And I usually give it a name that specifies what it is. This is the 1901 census for Benjamin Wright. So that image has now been saved into my records. But coming back along the tree here, after viewing the transcript and saving the document, the next step would be to save this record. I've already done that in this case, so it is now in place. And then you can go back to your family tree to find other records that you want to record. So moving back along the line here. And this, remember, came from the hints. Waiting for the internet to catch up. And we should be back on the page for Eliza. Taking its time today. Here we are. It has slowed down. So what I might do is pause the share and pause the recording while it catches up. Hello, I'm back again after that brief turn down of internet speed. Let's go back to the record for Eliza. The 1901 census is what we were looking at. And there's one last thing that I want to do. is checking the transcript, I can see that Isaac was actually a stove polisher, so it's clearly there written by the enumerator. What I want to do now is to copy that information as text to the clipboard, which is a fine feature of Find My Past. It's one of the better ones for me, because what I like to do then is paste that information somewhere else. Now I use Evernote, and I keep notes about all my ancestors here. So at the bottom here, you can see that I've put a heading, the 1901 census. So I've got other records going backwards here, the 1891, 81, the marriage, and so on. So all of that in text, which I may need at some stage. So I now want to paste that information in. So that's just a Control V to paste what I had copied to the clipboard. And here I can now highlight Eliza. So what I'm doing is tracking not only my research, but also tracking the life of this ancestor. Of course, the census records were only kept 10 years apart, so I don't have a lot of information between 1891 and 1901 for Eliza, other than being able to look at the details that might appear for her children. So you can see here Benjamin, whom we noted was the head of the household for the 1901 census. And he is not a horse keeper, he's a housekeeper, which makes a lot more sense given that there are boarders in this household. So the transcript is also a very useful piece of documentation that you can use to make sure you've got all the facts straight. So that is how you would do your research and build out your family tree in using Find My Past. I'll pause again so that I will get ready now to show you the same again in Ancestry. Hello, I'm back again, and this time I'm going to walk you through some of the features of Ancestry. I'll share my screen again with you. So we'll have a look at the Ancestry website and its features. And then I'm going to use my case study for Eliza Goetz or Geets to step you through building her family tree in Ancestry. And that will show you a little bit more about how that particular database works, and also demonstrate how to use the hints in Ancestry. And along the way, any special features of Ancestry itself. So let me take you over to Ancestry now, and you'll see that I've landed on a page in the tree with Eliza Goetz showing. This is called my cutting family tree. I also have several trees over here as I do a lot of training for people using either database. Now, some of the features here on this page include your menu of items at the top in the black strip. I can go back to the home page here. I'm currently in trees. I can use the search feature straight away to find records for this ancestor. A special place in Ancestry is all about DNA. So if that is your field of fascination for this year, then go here to get help. If you want general help, then use the help here. And there are some extras. So extras in Ancestry include the Ancestry Academy that I would highly recommend you going to have a look at. Continuing along this menu strip, I could upgrade. I currently have a basic subscription to Ancestry. Here are the notifications that would have a red dot above it if there was something new. And then these are the hints, the little leaf. And you'll see the leaf down below here. And it's indicating for me that there are 11 hints for this ancestor, Eliza. I can connect with messages here to other people, and below that you'll see a search field, tools, and edit relating to this page for Eliza. The moment I have basic details for her in this tree, and I want to be able to fill it out now here, knowing what I had already found back in Find My Past to help me verify that I've got the facts right. So I'm going to venture into some of these hints. But before we do that, let's have a further look here on the right-hand side. You will see that at the moment, it's only saying a potential father and mother. So that will change as I include some of the research hints shown below. The spouse is Alfred Wright, and one child is listed there at the moment, my grandmother. So we will now take a walk through some of these hints. I'll just pause while I get that ready to go. Right, let's have a look now at how we can build out this tree for Eliza Goetz. I'm going to look at the hints on the left side here and see which one I want to choose first. There are several census records here, 71, 91. There is a birth and christening for Eliza, her parents, Joshua and Sarah. That would be a good one to start with, I believe, to build out her parents. There's a marriage there for her with Alfred, which would be the next one on my list to do. Several more census records and another birth index for Eliza. Let's go back to births and christenings here. And the baptism was at St. Michael's in Bishop Stortford. Let's review that information first. In Ancestry, it pops that information over on the right-hand side and gives you a chance to evaluate the record. Because not all of it might be what you're looking for or what in fact is true for your ancestor. There is an option here that Ancestry gives you to compare the details. When you click on that, you'll see what you already have in your tree on the right-hand side in green and what this record hint is going to give you on the left side in blue. So that looks correct to me. I will say, first of all, I need to move this toolbar out of the way and then say, yes, I would like to save this information to my tree. And it changes to show you now what is going to be added. And then you click next and select these to add in the details, in this case for her parents, and then save to tree. So it then gives you a confirmation of that accepted hint straight away, which is a nice feature of Ancestry. I can then close that and come back to the next one that I want to look at, which will be this marriage record. So once again, I review, compare details. Everything's looking correct, say yes. And again, checking in, those that are new will appear here. You'll see that the marriage date and place has been ticked. And a notice here on the right-hand side that if you save this fact, it will also appear on the person page for Alfred Wright, which is another useful feature of Ancestry. So click next. Click to add father. Click to add Alfred. Save to tree. And accepted hint. And it disappears from the list of hints here on the main part of this page. If I wanted any more of these, I could go and add those in. So here is an early census record for Eliza when she was a child living with her parents and a sibling. So let's review that one. It's one that I haven't got yet. Compare the details. She's only age 7 at this point. And yes, that is correct. Put in the details, clicking here. And next. And we also get the birth details for her parents as well, and for her sibling, Marianne. Save to tree. Accepted hint. All right, we've done our little bit of research for today to add those details. And now when we go back up to the top, you'll see that the birth information is expanded to include the new information that we've put in place. If we have a look at the life story, which is a feature of Ancestry, we can see at a glance what we have already for the life of Eliza, showing a brief overview of her life facts at the top, a picture of her parents and her child and her husband, a location map for where they were in Hertfordshire, and then it lists the baptism, the residence, the marriage, and the birth of that one daughter. And at the moment, brief details about the fact that she died at the age of 86 in 1930. But coming back up, we can see the facts themselves here in this list, which is usually the one that I'm looking at when I'm doing further research, because it helps me to orient my memory as to what I've already found. For example, it'll show you here the sources that you've collected, and these are the 3 that we've done today. We can go immediately to search for more on Ancestry below that. And on the right-hand side, we can see now that we've expanded the family to include the parents' names. And if we wanted to, we could go to either of those and start filling out details for them. But in this case, when you're focused on that one ancestor, I would suggest that you then look at more hints or do more research so that you fill out this one particular ancestor as you go. So keeping focused is what I'm advocating here. So that's how you build out your tree in Ancestry. Now there are other features here that you can explore. Let's have a look in the tools. For example, if you want to just print what you're seeing on the page now, you go to Tools and select Print. Nothing else in there that's of note. If you want to edit this person, click on the Edit, and you can do a quick edit of the facts showing or the relationships. Or if you've got the wrong person altogether, you can delete them. Then if you want to do further research, click on the Search tool. But more about that in other masterclasses. We've covered quite a bit of ground here today, so I suggest that you have a go at building out your family tree in either Find My Past or in Ancestry. One of the things that you do want to do is to track your progress, and you could use various ways of doing that. As you saw me demonstrate, I sometimes download the images of old parish records and save them to my computer files. And for the transcripts of those records, I store them in Evernote. You could do the same with just a simple spreadsheet, whatever it is that will enable you to help track your research as you Continue to discover your roots and build out your family tree.